Trigger warning, this is a dreadful case. A scumbag 22-year-old psychopath from Tennessee has been arrested for allegedly killing his girlfriend's 2-year-old son. We don't know the boy's name, but he was beaten to death, primarily with a dog's toy, so a braided dog toy like a rope, which is knotted, and seemingly, presumably, this absolute piece of filth, Anthony D. Andrews, 22 years of age, used the braided dog's toy, the knotted rope, really as a whip. We're going to go into some details, so I do need to give you a trigger warning. He's been taken into custody as of Monday morning. He's been charged with 1 count of aggravated child abuse and 1 count of aggravated neglect of a child in regards to the brutal death of the 2-year-old boy, his girlfriend's son. Again, we don't know his name. I'm wondering why he's not being charged with manslaughter or murder. Perhaps the Tennessee authorities are biding their times prior to making those charges. We're told that emergency medical services were called to a residence of Margot Street, Tennessee, not quite sure of the town or city, just before 6 a.m. on Monday in regards to an unresponsive 2-year-old boy. First responders located the boy. He was not breathing. He was also bleeding from the mouth. He also had bruises on the abdomen, on the sides and the back, as well as a very long bruise on the right side of his face that went from the forehead to the lower jaw. The entire right side of his face of the 2-year-old boy was bruised. Again, he was unresponsive. Emergency medical services performed CPR. The 2-year-old was rushed to the hospital. Tragically, he succumbed to his wounds. He was pronounced dead, of course. Full condolences to the family of the 2-year-old boy. Again, we don't know his name. Seemingly murdered, beaten to death by, that's right, the mom's boyfriend. We keep hearing that term, the mom's boyfriend. Full condolences to the mother, but we've got to throw some caveats in there. We're told that the mother was aware that the scumbag in question, her boyfriend, disciplined the child. She had previously seen him, her boyfriend, the man that she slept with, the man that she was in a relationship with, the man that she lived with, the man who she exposed her children to. She had seen him previously discipline the 2-year-old boy using a belt and also using a braided dog toy. She's seen him do this before, and she fucking stayed with him. This mother is culpable to some extent. She failed drastically at being a mother bear, at protecting her child. Okay, let's be clear. The mother did not, as far as we understand, strike or in any way injure her 2-year-old son, but she stood by and enabled her boyfriend to do so, seemingly on a regular basis. The mother told investigators that she had recently noticed excess bruising and wounds on her child, but she was told by the boyfriend that the 2-year-old boy had simply fallen out of bed. Oh, you see the bruises and the wounds, the injuries that your 2-year-old son has been sustaining. Well, it's not due to me. No. When I hit him with a belt or a braided dog toy, that doesn't cause any injuries. What are you talking about? No. He fell out of the bed. That's right. And the mother believed that. Fuck off. The mother's full of shit. And the mother must be held accountable. She won't be, I guarantee it. The scumbag mother's boyfriend, again, his name Anthony Andrews, 22 years of age from Tennessee, was interrogated, brought in for an interview by authorities, at which point he admitted to hitting the 2-year-old boy with a belt harder than he should have. Well, how about this, scumbag? Perhaps don't hit the child at all. 2 years of age. You're a 22-year-old grown man. You have man strength. The 2-year-old boy is just like completely 100% vulnerable, completely 100% defenseless, completely 100% weak. Any strike is going to severely harm a child, hurt a child, not only physically, but also emotionally. Personally, I'm against corporal punishment. I'm not a parent. That is my view. I've listened to a lot of Stefan Molyneux, who's been written off the internet, cancelled multiple times for his case of wrongthink, but he did argue very much against corporal punishment for the reasons that I've just outlined. You know, an adult is there to protect the child. The child is defenseless, so it looks to its parents, its guardians, for protection. And there is this human, this adult, the one that they love without question, that is there to nurture them. And that adult is hitting them. That adult is shouting at them. That adult is angry with the child. This is too mentally, emotionally traumatic for the child. And of course, throw in literal physical abuse and you see the injuries that are caused. This young man, this 2-year-old boy, not a young man, a 2-year-old boy, a toddler, was found not breathing, bleeding from the mouth. He had bruises on the abdomen, sides and back. He had a long bruise on the right side of his face. He was hit with a braided dog toy, essentially a knotted rope, and seemingly effectively whipped with it, struck across the face face and body at force by this piece of shit mum's boyfriend scumbag murderer. So again, during the investigation, the scumbag admitted to hitting the boy harder than he should have with a belt a few weeks before this incident. So this was a regular occurrence. He hit the child 7 to 8 times with a braided dog toy in the back, face and buttocks a week prior to this tragedy. Previously, he struck the child, a 2-year-old boy, with an open hand in the chest, and he shoved the child into a corner. This is a fucking scumbag piece of shit that regularly beats a 2-year-old boy. What kind of sicko does that? Why would you do that? Like, for why? What does that give you? Some kind of ego boost? There you are, big man. You're able to beat up a 2-year-old. Well done. You fucking sick cunt. And again, the mother, still in a relationship with him, aware that the boyfriend had struck her child, aware that her child had sustained wounds, injuries, bruises, which were explained away with bullshit excuses by the boyfriend. Oh, he fell out of bed. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. It wasn't the whipping with the belt or the whipping with the braided dog toy. No. It wasn't that. No. These bruises, these injuries must have been he fell out of bed. One of those things. Not my fault, according to the boyfriend. But again, thankfully, he has confessed to police during an interview. We are told that the scumbag boyfriend put the 2-year-old toddler into bed after he had sustained a beating. Several minutes later, the boy fell out of bed. Was that true? Is that part true? Perhaps so. Perhaps the boy was completely unresponsive and rolled out of bed, at which point the boyfriend called 911, emergency medical services, and from there everything is documented. So the scumbag mother's boyfriend is being held in a detention center. He has a $250,000 bond, which I think is a good bond. You could go higher than that, I would have thought. Tennessee, this is not a scumbag that you want back on the streets, but having said that, $250,000 is a high amount. In America, I believe it varies from state to state, but typically you have to pay 10-20% of the bond amount, so you're looking at $25,000-$50,000, and most people don't have that kind of money available. Some people do, not everybody. So I think the bond could possibly be higher, but we've seen far lower previously for sure. That's all the information that we have. Again, I'm going to say full condolences, but there is that caveat to the mother. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. The mother, I know that you're heartbroken. I know that you've lost your baby. I know that you didn't want that to happen, and I know that it's likely that you never struck your child yourself directly, but you stood by, you protected, you enabled your boyfriend to ritually, repeatedly beat your 2-year-old boy with a belt, with a braided dog toy, to slap him with an open hand, time and time again. You stood by, you let it happen. You were aware of what was going on. If not every last detail, you're aware of far too much, and you should have stopped that. Even if your excuse is, well, what could I have done? I had nowhere to go. You fucking find a place. You take your 2-year-old boy, you run out of there. You catch a bus, you catch a Greyhound, go to another city entirely. You go to the authorities. You go to a domestic violence charity or organization that houses mothers and children. You go to a family member, you go to a friend, you go to the local church. There are options. Don't pretend there aren't options. There are options. They may not be the best options in the world, but there are options better than leaving your 2-year-old boy with a psychopathic murderer. The mother made the wrong choice. She ought to pay for that to some extent. I get that she's grieving. I get that there's every chance she didn't lay a finger on the 2-year-old boy, but she exposed her child to this psychopath. They lived together. She has to be held accountable for that to some extent. I'd say jail time. I'd say 2 years, 3 years, 5 years jail time. But presumably, we know how these things work. We know that, forgive me, some of you aren't going to like this, but we know that as a vagina bearer, she's going to be given a pass. Oh, it's not your fault. Oh, you're just a poor mother who decided to hook up with a psychopath that you were aware regularly beat your 2-year-old boy. Not your fault. Yes, it fucking is her fault. Not entirely, but it's her fucking fault. And she should pay for that, but she won't because she's a vagina bearer. She'll be given a pass by society, by the judicial system. And that angers me. She should not be given a pass, and being a vagina bearer alone should not be reason enough to give people a pass. And it happens time and time again in America, in Australia, in England. Vagina bearers are able to get away with murder, with neglect, with abuse, and it's sickening. So some of you may find what I've said there to be unpalatable, but I don't know. I'm going to stand by what I've said. So I'm going to wrap things up at this point. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. Consider joining my memberships. I have 0 members. I'd love to get 1, 2 or 3. Been doing this 2 years or more. Be nice to get a little support. No. I'm kind of joking there. You guys do support me with your likes, with your views, with your comments in particular. So I really appreciate that. I'm I'm going to wrap things up at this point. I do appreciate your time. Take care.